Good morning, ladies. It is Monday. Welcome back. I hope you had a great weekend. Today for our CGI lesson, we are going to be kind of focusing a little bit on place value. So I really want you to make sure you're paying attention to what those numbers are in our word problem and how they can be represented with digits. And you'll also notice that they have dollar signs, so it's important to recognize that we are talking about dollar amounts. So let's go ahead and get started and read this problem together. You have $1 million, but then you spend $999 and then $22,222. How much money do you have left? So I'm going to read that one more time, and I want you to be reading along with me. When I'm reading this, I really want you to think about those quantities, and now that we've kind of read it together, think about if there's a quantity that maybe you have to turn into an amount with digits and how you can represent that as money. So you had $1 million, but then you spent $999 and then $22,222. How much money do you have left? All right, so let's look at these quantities and kind of focus on what we think is important in the problem. So in that first sentence, it says you had $1 million. So that quantity is really important. We want you to, I want you to really think about that quantity. That is our total. So you had $1 million, starting with that. But then we're going to spend $999 and $22,222. So then, focusing kind of on some of those clue words, so we had this amount, so that means that we're starting with that, but then it's going to go away. And then we spent two different amounts of money. It's really important that we're thinking about what those operation clue words mean in this problem. Because if you have money and then you spend money, that helps us understand kind of what it is that we're going to be doing in order to solve this problem. And then lastly, our question, how much money do you have left? And there's a portion in this question that really kind of hones in on what it is that we are solving for and how we're going to solve, and that's that word left. We want to know how much money is left. So now that we've talked through this problem and we marked it up, I want you to make sure that when you go on to solve this problem, you're going to use those CGI strategies. So writing down what those quantities are and not necessarily writing them down in the way that they're written on your paper or on the screen, but writing them down in a way that helps us use them when we're doing different operations. Make sure that you're focusing on what that question is and thinking about what those clue words are telling us to do. Remember, in that planning section, you want to make sure that you plan out your thinking. What is the operation or operations that you're going to be doing? And then writing out that number sentence with a variable. As fifth graders, remember, we have a lot of different tools in our toolbox. And using that order of operations and those parentheses can really help us to create a super powerful number sentence and making sure that we're ending that with a variable because we don't know what our answer is yet. If you have multiple steps, make sure that you're checking each step as you go. And then when you finish, you can unpause the video and then we will go over it together. So at this point, go ahead and pause your video, get to solving, and we will check our work together. All right, ladies, so let's take a look at this problem. You had $1 million and then you spend 999 and then you spend another 22,222 and we want to know how much money that we have left. So when we're thinking about this problem, we have a total of $1 million. And when we write out that 1 million, that's going to be a 1 with 6 zeros behind it. And that's our total money that we're starting with that we can spend. And then we're going to spend $999. And then we're going to spend an additional $22,222. So the first thing that we want to ask ourselves is how much money do we have left? So if we're finding out how much money we have left, the first thing that we're going to do is we want to try and figure out what the difference is between what we have and what we spent. But before we can do that, we want to think about how much money we actually spent. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take that $22,222 and we're going to add it with the 999. And you want to make sure that the 999 lines up in each of the place values that it corresponds with. So the 9 in the ones place needs to go underneath the 2 also in the ones place. 9 plus 2, 11. 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 1 is 12. 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 1 is 12. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 2 we bring down. So this lucky kid or whatever got to spend $23,221, which is pretty impressive. But we started with $1 million, and we want to find the difference between our total money that we had and the amount that we spent. So $23,221 is our spent money. Okay, so now we're going to take our $1 million and we're going to subtract away the 23,221. And making sure that you're lining up each of your place values, making sure that 1 is at the end in the ones place, and then working your way down. So this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky sometimes for people because we're working with a lot of zeros and we're having to do a lot of borrowing, especially in a problem where there are so many zeros. So we can't subtract any of these place values. So we have to go all the way down to the 1 and borrow from that 1. I'll use a different color so it kind of stands out. Red. So we'll go to the 1. Our 1 is going to become a 0. And then everything all the way to the tens place is going to become a 9. And then this last 0 is actually going to become a 10. So now we subtract. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 3 is 6. Don't forget your parentheses. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus nothing is 9. And then this is a 0. And then what I forgot to do, which I even told you that you needed to make sure you did this, was check your work before you moved on. So I'm going to go back and let's check this part, and then we'll also check this part to make sure that we're correct. So we're just going to go backwards. So we'll use that 23,221, and we want to do the opposite operation, so that's going to be subtraction. 999. And this is another step where we're going to need to be borrowing. So we're going to borrow from the 2, make it a 1. I'm not writing on my wall. This 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. We can't do 1 minus 9, so we go next door. We're going to make that 2 into a 1, that 1 into an 11. Go next door. This becomes a 2. This becomes an 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 2 minus nothing is 2. 2 minus nothing is 2, and if you see, we are correct. So lastly, we're going to go through, we're going to take our answer and do the opposite operation, which is addition. So we're going to take 976,779 plus 23,221. 9 plus 1 is 10. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Same, 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. Put my my comma. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 9 plus 1 is 10. And we have 1 million, so we are correct. All right, so now the last thing that I want to do is create our number sentence using those parentheses in our order of operations. So the first thing that we did was we took the 222 plus 999. But what's also important to remember is we're going to take the answer of this and we're going to subtract it from 1 million. So the first thing that you actually want to make sure that you have on your paper is that 1 million. Because we're going to be subtracting from this. So put your subtraction symbol, and then you want your parentheses because we want to know we have to do this. That has to be done first. Oh, dollar signs. And then that gave us an answer of 900. And we have to remember, there were two parts to this problem, but the part that actually gives us the amount of money that's left is the second step right here. So that gave us an answer of $976,779. Nice job, ladies.